U.S. President Donald Trump says a 25% tariff is coming tomorrow on Canadian and Mexican goods, as well as a 10% tariff on China on top of existing China tariffs. And he says there is nothing those countries can do about it.
We have big deficits with, as you know, with all three of them. And in one case, they're sending massive amounts of fentanyl, killing hundreds of thousands of people a year with the fentanyl. And in the other two cases, they're making it possible for this poison to get in, number one. And number two, we have big deficits, and it's something we're doing. And we'll possibly very substantially increase it. We're not. We'll see how it is. But it's a lot of money coming to the United States. As you know, we have about a $200 billion deficit with Canada, getting close to $200 billion. They've treated us very unfairly. And I say, why should we be subsidizing Canada? It's wonderful. I have so many friends in Canada. It's a great place.
Is there a concession
But
you're looking for, sir?
no, we're not looking for a concession. And we'll just see what happens.
We're going to go to Washington. We're going to talk to the CBC's Katie Simpson. So Katie, we all saw those alerts coming out on the wires when Donald Trump was laying out exactly what he is now saying he's going to do. What's the latest from down there now that we've seen and heard from the president himself? And basically, he's going to hit everyone everywhere on everything by the end of this.
It's just blankets and blankets and blankets of tariffs, whether it's sectoral, whether it's by country. It's tariffs are coming. And it's that's just what's going to be happening. So Donald Trump, one of the first questions he was asked in the Oval Office, reporters had gathered in the Oval Office because he was signing an executive order about regulations. It's not related to the tariffs specifically. And so reporters started asking these questions. And the first question was, is there anything at all that Canada, Mexico, or China could do to avoid these tariffs? And his answer was no. And he went on to say it's an economic move, describing it in those terms, describing how he wants to generate wealth for the United States. And he sees tariffs as a tool to go there. And really, it's sort of takes all of the air out that, this is sort of like really, really based on border security, particularly when it comes to Canada. Donald Trump, initially when this threat was made, back on November 25th, on that evening post on Truth Social, Donald Trump initially said, okay, two things. We're going to bring in these 25% tariffs unless you shut down the border to illegal fentanyl because it's killing Americans. As well as stopping people from crossing the border illegally. He wants to stop illegal migration. And since that time, the goalposts kept shifting. Well, he started to sort of complain about the trade deficit, adding that into it. Is that part of the discussion, part of the factor? Or, his general complaints about the way trade is done between Canada and the U.S., his irritants, his concerns, and his larger sort of goal of making trading relationships more favorable to the United States. And so today, when he came out and definitively said, no, it's economic, there is nothing they could do to stop it, he still went on to complain about fentanyl coming into the United States. And make no mistake, there is a problem, a very intense problem at the southern border when it comes to fentanyl entering the United States. There is a significant problem with China when it comes to the manufacturing and distribution of the chemical precursors, when it comes to money laundering, when it comes to all of those issues. Canada does have some challenges with some bigger picture things when it comes to money laundering, when it comes to organized crime. But when it comes to actually physical amounts of fentanyl entering the U.S. from Canada, it is a fraction, it's less than 1%. It's less than 1% of all the fentanyl that's stopped.
43 pounds.
It's 19.5 kilograms to 9,500 kilograms in the south. So it's not the same sort of challenge. And it illustrates that, Canada made its $1 billion proposal to make border security improvements. And it kind of sort of seems, the way he spoke today, that it kind of probably doesn't matter what Canada was going to try to do because he seems set on it. So that really was the big takeaway that I had there. As soon as he said that, I thought, okay, there it is. there it is. This is just the reality of the moment. Yeah. He also went on to describe additional tariffs for the European Union. You know, a reporter asked, you know, are you going to put tariffs on the European Union? And he said something along the lines of, well, do you want the political answer or do you want the truth? And everyone said the truth. And he said, well, yes, of course. So tariffs are coming that way. We don't have any specifics there. And then he seemed to sort of suggest that some tariffs on some industries could be different, that perhaps the tariff on Canadian oil would be at 10% rather than 25%. That is what I sort of understood. The thing is, when Donald Trump speaks at these events, just the nuance of how he speaks, we need to see it on paper. That's what we really need. And I know it's agony for Canadian businesses, agony for Canadian consumers and Canadian workers, because these changes have such a profound impact on the way Canadians are going to do business, on the way the Canadian economy is going to grow, all of these challenges. And so he said these things in the Oval Office, and they are obviously super important. Obviously, you know, it sent stock markets down. The Canadian dollar went down. The Mexican peso went down. But we need to physically see, you know, the details in writing before really people can know. The other thing is Donald Trump just left Washington. He's gone to Mar-a-Lago. So all of this is going to sort of go down from his house in Florida. Okay,
you know, Katie, it's fascinating. Just for let you go. Throughout all of this, it's been, what does he want? What does he want? The simple answer has been tariffs, because he believes in them and he wants them. And maybe that's really where this goes.
And that, like, when he said that, it stood out to me. He did again complain about border security.
Sure, of course.
There are some massive challenges at the southern border, and he sees irritants at the northern border. Some people in Trump's world have complained about money laundering in Canada, organized crime in Canada, and those kind of like deeper rooted issues that are a challenge to really sort of get at. And I know that the Canadian government has looked at ways to sort of address that as part of their $1 billion border plan. But as someone who watches this all the time, I'm going to go talk to my colleague Alex Panetta just to see if he thinks this.
Right.
But that really stood out to me. It's like, no, there's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do. It's economics.
Okay. Katie, always appreciate it. Got to get another guest because we are expecting some sort of a press conference. No, it's all good. It's all good. This is one of those days. Katie Simpson in Washington, D.C.